What's up, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Team Chat Podcast, a video game show. I am one of your hosts, Jerrett Wilson, joined to my right by Rachel Mogan.
Buongiorno.
Buongiorno. How are you doing this fine evening?
I'm doing perfectly swell, except I don't know if you've noticed. My watch band, because I wear it so much, it's starting to fade a little.
Oh, no.
My purple is kind of going away. Like it
Wait,
looks.
was this originally purple?
Well, it was more like a light lavender,
Oh,
but
okay.
now, like even in the viewfinder,
looks just gray.
it looks gray.
Yeah.
It's supposed to look more like my sunglasses.
Oh,
So I'm
yeah,
like,
yeah.
oh no.
Definitely a change. Oh, see, you still got the yellow, though, on this side. Or the green, whatever that is.
Well, yes. Well, the yellow has held up a lot better, but like the purple is definitely
definitely got a little bit of a fade.
I think it's just getting sun bleached, and the
Yeah.
yellow is able to hold up to it better. Anyways,
I mean,
watch
same color.
problems.
Sun and the yellow.
Yep, this is the same.
So they cancel each other. They don't fade. They don't fade. Just like
Everybody
our love of
knows
video
that.
games doesn't fade here at Team Chat Podcast, where we talk about the ones we love, the ones we hate, and everything in between on a... Well, we shoot for a weekly basis, and you can listen to podcasts over on podcast services such as Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Amazon Music. You can also watch a video version of each episode over on our YouTube channel. You can find us on social media at Facebook, Threads, and Instagram, as well as TikTok. We post some of our videos and shorts over there as well. We also have a Discord server where you can join us and talk about video games and other fun stuff when we're not here recording the show. We also have some merch. You know, if you want to look fresh out there on the beaches this summer, we've got some t-shirts and some hats, mugs, maybe some different stuff like that you want to check out over on our TeePublic store. Links for all that is in the description below. Also, in the description, you will find a link over to our Patreon, where you can help support the show and make it bigger and better. Just like Allison H., Fuchsia, Ark, Brandon W., Bro Mogan, Super Saiyan Ace, Erica L., Elise F., Michael B., Michael S., Snooty Boots, Susan M., and Zach S. have done. They've gone over to support the show for as little as $1 a month, and in return, we'll give you cool perks like getting the episodes early before its general weekly release and access to a private channel on the Discord server, the Rogues Gallery. But if you can't do that, that's no big deal at all. We totally understand, and you can support the show for free ways, such as subscribing wherever you're listening to or watching the shows, commenting wherever you're watching, telling your friends. All that stuff helps get the good word of Team Chat Podcast out there to the masses, and for that, we are eternally grateful and love each and every single one of our viewers, listeners, and patrons alike. Heart emoji.
Heart emoji, XOXO.
Now, to our moment with Mogan, and find out what's coming out soon, and other news, I guess.
Yes, we are not going to backtrack all the way to June, but we are going to go back to the beginning of July, because Angerfoot, a game that you might remember from a couple of Devolver Digitals, I believe. Angerfoot is finally coming out for PlayStation 5. Well, excuse me, it came out for PlayStation 5 on July 1st. So did, and I feel like this game, I'm so glad it's out now, because I'll never have to see another trailer for it at any of not E3's Mecha Break, the new mech game that has been everywhere.
Oh,
yeah, the big flying mech game.
Yeah.
That game is finally out for Xbox Series X and S and PC. Angry Birds Bounce is out for iOS now. Wonder Boy, yeah, they're still making Angry Birds, right?
Oh boy.
Wonder Boy, Asha in Monster World is out for PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X and S. Farm Together 2 is out for all Xbox consoles, including the previous gen. Missile Command Delta is out for PlayStation 5, Switch, and PC. And then coming out a little bit late, coming out today on July 10th, we have, a game that we definitely super care about. EA Sports College Football 26.
Yes!
Yes, finally!
Can't wait!
It's out for PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X and S. Also out today is Everdeep Aurora for the Switch and PC. I don't know anything about this game, but the name sounds promising. We have Islanders. Ooh, so this is actually an expansion for the Islanders game, which a lot of people really like. If you're into sort of like city builder, sim type games, Islanders is like building your own islands. This expansion, I think, was actually teased at one of the not E3 expos. I can't remember which one. But Islanders New Shores is now out for PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X and S, PS4, Xbox One, Switch, and PC. Nearly everything. Myco Punk Early Access is out now for PC. System Shock 2 25th Anniversary Remaster, right? 25? Wow. That can't be right.
Right? These ages.
Go ahead.
Oh, man. I did that talking about that and that being weird. I know I've told you this, but like this happened at work the other day. Again, for those who might not know, I started working recently at a comics and game shop here in Austin, Bat City. Come check us out. But one of the times we were there, we've been doing for the last few weeks a summer camp for both D&D and Magic the Gathering there at the store. So kids come in and everything, learn how to play, get led through a campaign and all that stuff. It's great. Well, it was great until the other day. One of the kids is there and, they're just chatting, shooting the shit as kids do, I guess.
Did they start flossing?
No, none of that, fortunately. But no, this kid goes, yeah, I've been playing a lot of my dad's classic Xbox 360 games this summer.
Oh, that one hurts. Oh, boy.
Literally, I was in the middle of checking someone out.
Woof.
And all three of us and the other employees and every adult over 30 in that room immediately went, ooh, the fuck do you mean? Classic Xbox 360 games.
I mean, I could understand Xbox.
Yes.
I could understand
I could see that.
PlayStation 1, but
Yes.
the 360?
No, we're not to that point yet. We're not to the point of the 360 being classic. That means the PS3 is classic by that kid's definition.
Absolutely not.
But you saying that about the date reminded me.
Anyways, so
But everybody in the store was like, I just took psychic damage from that
really
one.
did. God. So anyways, for those of you old, decrepit bastards out there, System Shock 2 25th Anniversary Remaster is out for PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X and S, PS4, Xbox One, and Switch. And then coming out tomorrow on July 11th, we have Bendy and the Dark Revival for PS5, Xbox Series XS, and Switch, along with, you're not seeing double, Farm Together 2, again, but this time for PlayStation 5 and Switch. I guess it just got a phased release based on consoles. That's really weird. A game that I actually kind of care about. The Patapon 1+2 Replay. That's finally coming out for PlayStation 5, Switch, and PC. Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3+4. A lot of pluses in this little section. That's coming to PlayStation 5, Xbox Series XS, Switch 2, PlayStation 4, Xbox One, Switch, and PC. On the 15th, we have Destiny 2, The Edge of Fate. That's for PS5, Xbox Series X and S.
Another
Destiny. Like, I
expansion?
can't believe they're still making that game. Anyways, it's out for basically everything except for the Switch.
Did everybody QA it for Stolen Art?
Ooh.
It is Bungie.
Oh, Also on the 15th, we have Eden's Zero for PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X and S, and PC, along with Eric's Home, The Stolen Dream. And it's spelled Eric's Home in a very Swedish way. Not like Eric is home. It's
That's
like a
what
name.
I thought it was.
No, Eric's Home, The Stolen Dream for PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X and S, and PC. And then finally, rounding us out into the latter half of next week, we have Hunter x Hunter Nen X Impact for PlayStation 5, Switch, and PC. I feel like someone in our Discord was talking about this game.
That does sound very
recently.
familiar.
It was either Super Saiyan Ace or maybe Brandon. I feel like it was Super Saiyan.
Is it a fighting game?
I think it's a fighting game.
Then yeah, it was probably
And I feel like it was maybe in early access or beta or something.
something like that. That does sound very familiar.
We'll have to go back and check the notes. But there's some people out there that are excited for this game. That's for PlayStation 5, Switch, and PC. And then we have Donkey Kong Bonanza.
Oh, snap, already?
Yeah, on July 17th for only the Switch 2.
Yeah.
Tragic.
Gotta be a minute before I get to play that one,
Yeah,
unfortunately.
same.
It does look great. Like, it looks like it's... I've seen it... it looks like it's honestly like a new Mario or Donkey Kong 64, like third person, like open world kind of.
It's
seen
the
it, like,
Mario Odyssey for Donkey Kong.
Yeah. That's the perfect way to describe it. So yeah, it looks like a ton of fun, but unfortunately, it's on the Switch too.
Yep.
So I'm not playing it anytime soon.
That'll be a maybe later game.
Maybe later. Maybe in 2028.
And then we have Neon Abyss 2 early access on the 17th as well for PC. RoboCop Rogue City Unfinished Business for PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X and S, and PC on the 17th as well. Shadow Labyrinth for PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X and S, Switch 2, Switch, and PC on the 17th, along with The Wandering Village for PS5, Xbox Series X and S, PlayStation 4, Xbox One, Switch, and PC. And that gets us through next week.
Boom.
Whew.
Well, today's main topic is one that has been in development for a while. In that, it is the full review of Doom: The Dark Ages.
Nice.
And this one was, like, I expected greatness because obviously it's Doom, and Doom is classically known for being a hell of a good time, pun intended. But Doom: The Dark Ages, I'm just going to go ahead and say it, is no exception to that rule. It was a fantastic game through and through. But, a few things here and there that I had some issues with. But for the most part, and I'll get to those in a second, but for the most part, Doom the Dark Ages was a great time. Developed by ID Software and published by Bethesda. This came out, I believe, May. It came out in May. So, I'm not doing too bad then. I thought
you're
it
not
had been a
doing
long
that
time.
bad.
But, all things considered, the one thing about this that I do love, and it's somewhat a little bit of a love-hate, but I'll talk about that in a little bit, is this game is huge for like a first-person shooter or even a Doom game. So like it took upwards of probably 30-ish hours for me to beat the game and stuff like that. It has 22 missions. Like it's a beefy game.
Remind me, I feel like the previous two like Bethesda remakes of Doom weren't that long. What's like the comparison, do you think?
I'd say that this one, that Dark Ages, is probably double the length.
Really?
Honestly.
So you feel like the previous ones were? I feel like I remember us talking about this, that they were maybe about 15-ish to 20
like 12
hours.
to 15, and then Eternal might have been like more 15 to 20, but Doom the Dark Ages just really was like, hey, we're going all out with this. We're going to really just enjoy this atmosphere and new environments and stuff that we've set up for the story of this Doom, and we are going to let you explore it to the max, cause chaos and carnage to the max, and just have a hell of a good time. Nice. So, Doom the Dark Ages. Ooh, that's going to be hard. Not saying them all.
I also keep wanting to say Doom Eternal.
But
I don't know
it's
why.
Doom the Dark Ages.
Like, why do we both default specifically to Doom Eternal?
I don't know. I didn't even like talk about it that much ever. Like, I feel like I did a review and stuff for it, but outside of that, it's not one I go back to often. But for some reason,
it's just in
locked
the brain.
Away in the noggin. But Doom the Dark Ages is a prequel, though, to the events of Doom 2016 and then Doom Eternal. And it's awesome, and I love it, because obviously the Dark Ages, it's referencing, and this whole game has a vibe that is purely medieval. And so, obviously, I'm already 100% there. You've seen from the trailers and everything, the Doomslayer is equipped with, this time, with a shield with a saw blade on it, which is so good. The shield incorporation into this game is great and fantastic. Yeah, we again talk about that in a minute. But I loved how they used the shield. You also got a straight up flail, like spiky ball on chain flail that you just got to smash demons with. Nice. And it was incredible. And then of course, honestly, this was a change I didn't even think about and I didn't even see coming. But then when it happened, and this is mild spoiler, but it's also a standard thing for Doom games. When you finally get the BFG.
Oh, of course, yeah.
It's instead in this game, the BFC, big fucking crossbow, because it's medieval themed and all that stuff. So it's not a huge cannon, it's a crossbow.
That's cool.
It's so cool. So all those things are awesome. And then like you have a 6 suit of armor, you've got like a fur coat cape thing.
It's a cloak. Thank you very much.
Excuse me. That like adds so much badassery and gravitas to it. It's amazing. And so, the Doom experience here is the typical Doom experience that you're wanting. You are just absolutely stomping on demons, occasionally maybe getting stomped back with a few of the boss fights and bigger demons that are out there, but just for the most part being an unstoppable killing machine with an arsenal of fantastic weapons at your disposal and just making for creative ways to get to, dispose of your enemies. All of that is there in spades. Now, one thing that Doom the Dark Ages does change from the previous 2 entries in the remakes is that it does not have a multiplayer. And I did think that there was going to be a multiplayer. And when I did like the first opening stream, I streamed like the first mission or 2 of it when the game came out. And I was like, oh, there's no multiplayer. And I went and researched it. And they specifically said that it was because they wanted this game to be the biggest and the best Doom experience. And at that point, I was kind of like, okay, people say that. And then, then it just kind of
and then it just doesn't
deliver. And then the game doesn't
they just
deliver, and it
removed a
just
feature.
it just kind of feels like they removed a feature from it, or just like, we didn't have time, so we're not going to put it in anymore. That is not the case with this. It is a huge, again, the scope of it. Just every time a new level would start, and there would be parts to a level, or the level would keep going past when I was like, it's got to be about over. I just kept thinking to myself, holy shit, the scale of this game is incredible. And I think what they did with it is truly great work. And it's just super fun to play. I'm going back through it now to like finish up getting the last bit of missions, get some weapon challenges done and all that stuff so I can get that sweet platinum.
I was about to say, are you going to platinum it?
Because even just going through the game, I think there was only like 6 or 7 left. Oh. And so at that point, I was just like, okay, well, you got to do it at that point. So it's just a few collectibles, different things like that I missed to go back for. But yeah, it was a good time. But as far as the story, like I said, it is a prequel to those games. And so, again, it's set several, I'm assuming hundreds, if not thousands of years before the events of Doom and Doom Eternal. What is super cool about this game, and that I loved a lot about it, is that you got to see so much more of the Slayer's background, and then also like his fellow Sentinels, because that's what you've learned from the other two games, that like there was this faction, the Sentinels, who were like, they were human, and I feel, but also kind of like super soldiers in a way too. You know, not the Doom Slayer, but also, you know, can hold their own against demons.
You're reskinned Templars, if you will.
Yeah. Honestly, they share the same vibe as a Templar.
Yeah,
Got the same like helmet type and different stuff like that. Yeah.
From that.
But in the previous games, you've always only seen them through like flashbacks or almost like holograms, really, of like of recordings and stuff like that left behind. But this one, you fully got to like interact with them, see them, meet characters like their King Novik, and Commander Thera.
Romance them, perhaps?
No romance. There's no time. There's no time.
0 out of 10
Honestly,
game.
if this game did stop to be like, all right, you can fuck if you want, I'd be like,
no, it's not about that. It's about romance.
And so I'd be like, no, there are demons to kill. Gotta go stomp and be back later. And so it's, I really appreciated like getting to see a little bit more behind these, like, at the time of the other two games, like mythic warriors. They were apparently like these very strong warriors, but you just, you never get to see them really.
But the Doomslayer is still like the elite among the other Sentinels?
He's like, at this point in time, like we still don't know like his exact origin. But in this game, like he starts, you're being quasi-controlled by this other... I believe they're aliens. I don't think they're demon, but they're like the makers. The Khan maker is like, I think what this dude's name was. And he basically is just like an alien-esque kind of slug-looking dude who floats around in a chair. But then he's like, there are all these like more robotic assistants who come and do things too that also seem, I'm not quite sure of their lineage. But anyway, he's like, controls the Doomslayer. Like the Doomslayer is kept in containment field on this ship. He has some kind of restraining bolt device on the chest piece of his armor, and basically he is activated and deactivated when the maker needs him, and stuff like, or there's a threat. So the first few levels of this game, like you're getting just like, oh, here's the threat, help us out, Doomslayer, activated, dropped. But you can tell everybody's like, oh boy, we got to be careful with this guy.
Okay.
Like he is bad news if we get on his bad side. And so, the threat of this game comes in the form of Prince Azrak of Hell. And, he is being aided by a witch queen, also from Hell, who is like using her dark magic and stuff. And they have the plan that is, the plan to take over the world and all that stuff, end humanity, get rid of the Sentinels.
Classic demon stuff.
So they come attacking, they come a-knocking, and the Sentinels are responding, and they call in the Doomslayer, and he, to face this new threat. And that's basically the groundwork for what this is. You wind up traveling through, through different cities of the Sentinels or strongholds of the Sentinels. You obviously get your hell time and different stuff like that to go stomp demons in their own turf. And, that's just kind of how it goes.
Question.
Yes.
Is hell themed like a Dante's Inferno, or is it just sort of like blanket hell?
Dante's Inferno in what way?
Like levels, like sort of
no.
levels
It's
of
just
hell.
like, this is hell.
Okay,
It's fiery.
got it.
It's
It's
red.
just all hell.
Yeah, it's like Mars but on fire, kind of thing. With demons running around and stuff like that.
Like if Mars wasn't cold, but
Yeah.
more of a hot planet.
But I just loved that, like, instantly, you got that first level and you're like, okay, cool. This is Doom. This is what I know and love. And you already got hints at some of those new things you were going to get. Like, I don't even think in the first mission you have the saw blade yet on your shield, but you have the shield. And so it's like, hey, here's a cool thing you can do. You can have your guard lock onto and block attacks, lock onto a demon, hit your, trigger button, R2 on, PS5, and you will dash forward and slam them with your shield and do a huge shield bash that just obliterates the smaller demons and fully like stuns bigger ones and stuff like that and does massive amounts of damage.
Like a better version of that one warrior ability we both really liked from Dragon Age Inquisition.
Oh, yeah. Like, was it Charging Bull?
Yeah, Charging Bull. We both love that one.
Yeah, but pretty much that. And
That's
so
funny.
you get that. And then, of course, when you get the saw blade and everything, like you use that in like some executions of demons and different different things like this. You can also, now deflect certain projectiles. So enemies will shoot like red beams, but then here comes a green one. You can deflect that and shoot it back to them. And then this is what I was talking about with the shield. You can unlock different power-ups or runes for the shield that do different things when you deflect the like airborne targets or airborne missiles or even physical attacks too, or melee attacks. And so like the first one, basic one is like it creates a shatter earthquake thing that like staggers enemies. Then you get these angelic darts that shoot out and
that sounds pretty cool.
Tag a whole bunch of different enemies all around the map in front of you. Then there is like a auto turret that pops up and just annihilates stuff, machine gun style. And the very last one,
that's very cool that it's a turret, but I kind of wish it were like a tiny trebuchet.
Oh, that would be good.
That would be super cute.
And then the last one that you get is like an electric shock, and it will like shock up to like 10 demons or something once you get it fully automated.
So there's not a tiny trebuchet at all?
No tiny trebuchet. I'm sorry.
Another negative in the column.
I know. I'm really having a hard time selling this game right now.
Yeah, it's rough.
But you of course get your standard weapons, the shotgun, the super shotgun, but then you get the new stuff.
I was about to say, what's the rationale for that? Because if there are still guns, like how are they justifying them?
It's more like it's not like it's totally medieval. It's just like this sect in this time period is medieval themed. Okay. But we still have guns and we still have technology.
It's more like a medieval alternate universe.
Yes.
Okay, I gotcha.
And so because that becomes even more clear in like the second level of the game, I think it's the second level. You get to load up into one of the huge Pacific Rim style mechs that the Sentinels have.
Oh, that's awesome.
And then you get to start going demon bashing with that. And you literally do, because they're like these huge, like monstrous demons that you go fight that are literally like kaiju sized. And you're just out there slugging them with your big robot arms, stuff like that. So cool. And there's even like combos and stuff to that. So it's not just you're just sitting out there hitting the same button. You can do dodges, which will slow down time, which then you can rocket punch forward and just deliver a massive hit, a huge ground stomp that sends shockwaves flying out. This is what I mean. Like the amount of stuff you can do in this game is so much. Now, granted, at those points, it's not like you can jump out of the big mech. I think it's called Atlans. It's not like you can jump out of those and jump back in and all that stuff. Like the level you are in the Atlan kind of thing.
We can just call them Gundams.
Exactly.
They're all just Gundams.
Pretty much is that. And then later, I know you've seen this you see this in the trailers too. You get on your dragon, who is an armored dragon who has like electric red wings and stuff like that. And you get to fly around and chase down hell ships. And this is what I mean is like there was this one level where you're defending the Sentinel city, and there are all these hell ships flying in. You're shooting them down by taking out their turrets, shooting down the ship, causing it to crash, landing on it, fighting it on the people inside, killing like the mini boss inside there, getting back on your dragon and downing the ship and doing that like 2 or 3 times. And then there was still like the boss fight of this mission. So that's what I mean. Like these levels were really expansive and really fleshed out. I was talking in the Discord with a friend of the show, Brandon, and because he played the game and like loved it as well. And we were talking and saying that, and one thing he mentioned, and I agreed with him by the time I was finished with it, that the map size and everything of these levels is awesome. And it's so cool how much there is to do. It does make it a little hard when you are doing like exploration stuff and trying to get like all the collectibles and stuff in one run. Because there is a lot of going to one point to the other point of the map and different stuff like that, but also just a lot of nook and crannies to check out.
So because the maps are so much bigger, are there any options for like fast travel?
No, they're not that big to necessitate fast travel, but it's still just for what the typical first-person shooter level is.
Yeah.
It's bigger, and there's a lot more like going back and forth. You can like unlock something over here that unlocks something on the far other side, like a door mechanism or something like that. So it's a little bit of being like, okay, I did this. Where did this go? Because it shows you a preview of like the door opening, but also not like, here it is on your map. Because you can't set custom waypoints and different stuff like that. The map pretty much just shows you, here's your objective. Here are other areas of interest and different things like that. But yeah, so that part was a little bit like, okay, Especially, and then, but the other side of that too, I did want to talk about this a little bit too, is that I think part of why the levels sometimes felt a little bit too long or maybe too expansive is also because I was trying to play the game on a harder difficulty level.
You and your
I know.
difficulty modes.
But so I was trying on like not the hardest, but the one step down from that, because I started the game and it felt, I was like, oh, okay, I can do this and everything. And I was like, oh, I'll bump it up. And I bumped it up to that level. Played a few missions and I was like, okay, it's getting more difficult. But then it definitely was hitting the point where it's like, I'm fighting the same like mid boss so many times or trying to clear this one area so many times. It's not worth it. But that's also another cool thing about Doom, because it has difficulty modifiers in the sense that you have the standard levels of difficulty that you can go up and down on, and you can change those at any time during the game. But once you say, like what I did, knocked down a difficulty level, but then you can go in and modify like your parry window, the damage you take from enemies and stuff, and how much damage you receive, how much damage the enemies receive. So you can kind of like tweak it a little bit to make it work. So that's what I did. I bumped it down, increased the damage that I take, and then decreased the parry window.
Fascinating.
And that was the perfect. Maybe it was placebo, and I just literally just like switched it back to like what the harder difficulty level was, but it still felt like, oh, this is like the perfect difficulty.
You know, we never talked about it because I don't think either of us really messed with it that much, but actually South of Midnight kind of had settings like that too.
Oh, did it?
Do you remember?
I don't really think I messed with them that much.
I think I got into the menu by accident because it was like a lot of really specific stuff about the difficulty, and I was like, whoa, this is too much. I don't want to make these kinds of decisions. I just want to play the game. So I think it was there if you needed it, and we just never talked about it. But that is really cool. I feel like I was, while you were talking about the difficulty, I was thinking, remember back when there was no other difficulty options, and B, even when games started to get different levels of difficulty, usually you could not change them after the fact.
Yeah.
Usually it was you boot up the game, you pick your difficulty level, and then you're locked in. And if you can't do it, you gotta restart, bro.
Oh yeah, and like you gotta start a new save and all that stuff. I do appreciate that. That's for the time saving aspect. Like that would be a huge bummer. And I remember there being games that I would purposely be like, I kind of want to try this harder, but I don't want to be locked in, and playing at a normal difficulty. Not saying it like greatly affected my enjoyment of the game, but
it's just
it did leave some to the imagination.
We've got a lot better quality of life features now, and we want to appreciate and take time to express our gratitude for those.
Golf clap for the difficulty sliders. But yeah, so that was like a really fun thing, that just like being able to adjust it and make it. And then of course, like I could, if it ever felt too much, I could bump it back up, bump it back down and all that stuff. But it was nice just being able to be like a little bit extra tweaking to the difficulty settings and stuff like that. Let's see, what else? There's definitely some like late story stuff that I want to talk about, and it's just too damn cool. So I got it because again, like that's just what Doom is all these like, oh shit, that's awesome moments. And so many of those things happen in this game. Like I said, I'll talk about those a little bit later. One thing though that I did kind of miss in this game from the previous games is that there was a little bit less emphasis on the like executions and or takedowns of demons.
Interesting.
Like in Doom 2016, there were glory kills, and I'm pretty sure Eternal had those as well. But like in 2016, I kind of remember being like, when the game started, these are awesome because it's like the demon or whatever enemy would flash a certain color, blue I believe, and you would activate the button to do it, and you would go into an automated sequence. But dependent on like if you attack from the left, the right, we're jumping down on them, or coming from from underneath them or something, it would do a different glory kill animation of you just pretty much dismembering and then ending this demon. And you're like, fuck yeah, like let's wreck this demon. But then by the end of the game, you're kind of like, okay, it's too much. Does it have to do it for everyone? If you do this, if you choose to like activate it, kind of thing. But it give you a bit boosts like extra armor, or extra health, and stuff like that, or extra ammo. So it's not like you necessarily wanted to ignore it.
Yeah,
I don't necessarily remember it being that big in Eternal, but in Dark Ages, they're pretty much non-existent. Every once, like you still will have a demon get stunned, it will flash, be highlighted in purple in this game, and for you to go up and do a finishing move. But in this one, it's a melee. Either like before you get the flail, it's just your fists and you just punch them really hard. You get the flail, or when you get other melee weapons later on, you just like hit them with that. Sometimes if you were coming up and doing a finisher on and you were up in the air, you would like land on them, push them to the ground, and like saw their head off with the shield.
Everybody loves that.
Awesome.
Awesome.
Yeah, so cool. And that's what I mean. You want that. You want that reaction to it. And so, but for the most part, though, that didn't happen, and you just wound up doing like a hit with the melee weapon. They flew back or something in kind of slow mo, and you got your bonus pickups and stuff like that. I kind of wish they had kept a little bit more of the glory kills in there.
What a curious choice. I wonder what the thinking was behind toning those down.
I'm not. Maybe just again, it's the kind of thing. Maybe they're like, yeah, it was too much in Doom.
Yeah, I wonder if it
and
was
they like couldn't
literally
get the like mix right. I guess, and they're already like, you're doing so much in this game, if you're getting slowed down every time you get a demon to a glory kill state.
I guess it could have just been a time saver.
Yeah, I'm not really sure, but it's still like, again, when the whole point of this game is to literally rip and tear, I kind of want to see a little bit more ripping and tearing.
It also kind of feels like the kind of thing that could have been one of those many options.
Yeah.
I feel like I've played games before where you can sort of choose to skip certain animations.
Yeah.
Like especially in turn-based
remember
RPGs.
Horizon Zero Dawn or Forbidden West, you could turn off the pickup animation.
That's right. I feel like that could have been I'm not going to say easy, but I feel like it could have been a setting that they could have put in the game, but I mean, not necessary.
And by saying I need more glory kills or gory kills or whatever, I'm not saying like the game is not glory and not violent and doesn't scratch that itch that Doom provides. It does that. Like, make no mistake. There's plenty of moments that I was just like, oh, that's gnarly. But just in the normal gameplay, like those moments of still like, especially a harder boss or something like that, being able to like really take them down with a glory kill is awesome. There were bosses that you kind of got to do that because there were certain bosses that would give you your main core power-ups, like your extra health, extra armor, max ammo size, and all that stuff. And you would fight them, and after you beat them down, got them to their stunned final state, you would do some kind of glory kill-esque where you would like punch them a few times, knock them down, usually then like punch into their chest, pull their heart out because that was the essence. And they'd be like, no! And then you just like squish it in your fist and then you obliterate.
That's
and
pretty
so, like,
cool.
That was cool. But also, again, it was like the same kind of like base thing. You pull their heart out, they're like, oh shit, and then they die, I loved the original, more like uniqueness of it, especially when it was determinate based on like the angle of attack and stuff like that, which animation you would get. It just made for kind of a, I don't know, a little bit more interactive feel.
I mean, as another example of that, in Tekken, the animation of your grab is dependent on where you're standing in relation to the opponent.
There you go.
Should be a thing.
Exactly. So again, minor nitpick, but just kind of thing I was like, oh, they did change it.
Oh,
but
they took away my cool kills.
But one thing though that they did a change they did make, because this was honestly a big thing about Eternal that I did not like, was that when you were going through the maps and the levels and you would get to an area where you were going to fight a new enemy type.
Hang on, he's taking a sip, everybody. Gotta take
a little sip. Sorry, doing a lot of talking. When you would get to an area where there would be a new enemy type, the game would pause and pull up a basically like hint screen of like, here's this demon, here's its weak spot, like kind of thing.
I don't love that.
And it was before you even saw the demon. So it was kind of like a mild spoiler even.
I feel like I remember you talking about this. Yeah.
I mean, because the first bigger demons in Doom Eternal that you face are like the arachnid, more spider brain guys. But like still, before you fight one of those, the game pauses and it's like, hey, you're going to fight this guy. He's got a rocket turret on his back. If you shoot that, it can't shoot at you anymore. And then you can get up closer.
Yeah, no, that sucks.
And I'm kind of like, why? And I even looked in the settings and stuff, and that was not there. Like an option to turn it off and stuff was not there. So I was kind of like, oh, weird. But I'm pleased to say that in Doom: The Dark Ages, not the case.
Okay,
and they took it back to a normal games way, where after a new enemy type kills you, then it's like the load screen. Here's a hint.
Gives you a little hint.
Yeah, here's a little nudge, a little helpful nudge to put you on the right way.
Good.
But so I did definitely like that change.
I love it when you get those little load screen hints and they're the least helpful things on planet Earth. It'll be like, using a potion heals you. And it's like, thanks, I know. And you've died for the 50th time to a boss.
I always love God of War because after you died like, 10, 15 times in a row to somebody, it'd be like, hey, pal. You want to lower the difficulty? I'm like, no!
Those are the best.
Kratos does not lower the difficulty.
I want to say maybe it was one of the new-ish Mario games, maybe Mario 3D World, where if you died enough times, like a sort of cosmic version of Rosalina would show up, and if you went and talked to her, she'd basically give you a power-up that made you invincible.
Oh my God.
And so every time Rosalina showed up, I was like, fuck you, I don't need you and your power-ups.
I'm going to do this on my own,
I can do it on my own.
So that was, it was fun to see that little bit of a change and everything like that. Let's see. Oh, another thing about this, about kind of the exploration factor of it and everything that I was talking about that was, again, a little frustrating due to the map size or level size. There's one collectible you could find called life sigils, basically extra lives. You die, you can use a life sigil if you want, completely optional to keep going in the fight, which I definitely used a few times or a lot of the time, because there would be just a few fights. I would be like, I know I was like 3/4 of the way through clearing that area and then died.
So
and I was
close.
just like, oh my God, I'm just right there. Let's do it anyway. And so, but one of the things is that is definitely counts towards your map completion by collecting these life sigils. There's usually 2 or 3 throughout the map. You can only hold 3. If you found 3 and then found a new location of a life sigil but couldn't pick it up, it doesn't count it as collecting the secret.
Oh, that sucks.
So my drive for the perfect run after like realizing that after the first 2 to 5 levels, I was like, okay, well, I'm definitely not going to worry about collecting the life sigils as hard.
So you would basically have to plan to intentionally die
To use a life sigil.
That is really...
And you don't know what the secrets are. They just show up as question marks across the map. So you just find it and you're like, oh, sweet, life sigil.
That is fascinatingly poor optimization.
I'm wondering if that's a thing that like will get patched out later.
Maybe it will because that feels like a mistake.
Because if you're doing a completionist like no hit, like that's just the challenge you wanted. You're kind of like shit out of luck.
Weird.
Yeah.
That honestly, I feel like maybe they will patch that out because that really just sort of feels like a whoopsies.
Yeah.
Like
right?
if you, why would you cap the amount of sigils you can hold if you're not using them, but then also make it to where they're required to be collectibles for 100%ing?
Yeah.
That doesn't seem right.
So I was like, okay, that's kind of that's
weird.
not my favorite. No, but again, all in all, like a minor thing, but it does like now, like there are a few missions I'm having to go back and find those life sigils and stuff like that. Again, not the end of the world because the game's fun, but it's still just kind of a thing where I was like, well, I was going to try to do this all at once.
Guess
and
not.
the game too is though very good and very helpful in its exploration though, in that the map does have, when it gets to, it's very easy to go back and retrace your steps, go back to different areas, and when there is the point of each level where it's like this is as far as you can go, the objective marker changes to like a doorway with an arrow going out of it, so that way you're like, this is a point of no return.
That's helpful.
If you go past here, you cannot get this exploration stuff you missed.
Okay,
so
I
did
that.
like that, because then it was up to me to decide of, all right, am I done kind of messing around trying to find this stuff, or am I ready to move on? You know what I mean?
Actually, it's like that's a really helpful thing to be able to see visually on a map, because for example, Bro Mogan is also playing through, as we call it in our Discord chat, La France game, Claire Obscure.
Oh yeah, so now that I finished that, I'm back on that train.
Oh, very nice. We'll talk about that more very soon. Everybody brace yourselves for that. But Bro Mogan sent me a chat and he was like, okay, I just got done with XYZ thing and the game seems like I feel like I'm entering a point of no return.
Yeah.
What's going on here? And I had to be like, no, you can continue. That's not the point of no return. But it is unfortunate that like there are sort of red herrings like that. Because his question was, do I need to go back now and fight all of those optional overworld bosses, or can I actually come back and do these later? So I feel like it's a nice quality of life thing to just be able to have very definitive points of no return so that you know in advance whether or not you need to go do all of your completionist stuff. That's a good feature.
So
I liked it.
I liked it. Kind of like little things, not my big fan of, but some things like that were nice, really nice touches. All right. I think that's honestly about all of the main things that I wanted to talk about. Because again, like I said, the experience of this game, if you're a fan of Doom and you know what Doom is, a rough and tumble first-person shooter,
action game,
you know what you're getting.
Lots of gore,
exactly.
lots of violence. Everybody loves that kind of stuff. Big explosions of guts.
I will say, talk about this too. Soundtrack of Doom, as expected, it continues the tradition that Mick Gordon set of having like an incredibly hard, driving, never stopping, soundtrack. This time it's done. Oh crap! I completely spaced on who composed it for this one. I was listening to it earlier today.
Well, I saw that you've been listening to the South of Midnight soundtrack.
It's very good too. Also, you don't want to miss that one because it's very good. Sorry,
Doom: The Dark Ages.
Finishing Move Inc. is who did the soundtrack for it, and like it sounds very much. It has the same feel of Mick Gordon's soundtrack that he did for Doom and Doom Eternal. So, I mean, if you're loving that and all that stuff, it's a great time. It does kind of feel like it's missing, I don't know, the like key thing that like makes Mick Gordon's music.
For those of you wondering,
sounding?
It does appear as though Finishing Move Inc. is two white guys.
Okay, there we go.
There's like an ongoing joke in the like tech like EDM sort of house dance sphere that all of the best albums are made by two white guys.
Well, yeah, Daft Punk.
It's always two white guys. Anyways, Finishing Move Inc., for those of you that are curious, they have also done soundtracks for the Callisto Protocol, Grounded, Borderlands 3, Microsoft Flight Simulator.
I liked the Borderlands 3 soundtrack. It was really good.
Crackdown 3, Halo Wars 2.
Oh, okay.
Massive Chalice, and then most recently Doom: The Dark Ages.
Very cool. So, I mean, the soundtrack is great. I know a lot of people were probably worried, is it going to live up to what Mick Gordon has done before?
All of the photos were of two white guys, but the members say four white guys.
Oh, my God.
It says right here, it just says four white guys.
Oh, that's all you
no
need to know.
names.
You see four white guys together, it's Finishing Move Inc. Just walking down the street. But anyway, so yeah, the soundtrack and everything was great. I think it still like lived up very well to Mick Gordon's legacy that he set with the music and everything like that. So a great time all around. Now, before we close out, I do want to talk about a couple moments from the late game that were just, I couldn't not talk about them because of how cool they were. So want to talk about those now. Not still going to give like full story beats for every single minute of the game, just these minutes at the end. So if you don't want the end of Doom: The Dark Ages spoiled, tune out now. Look in the timestamps in the description for this episode. You'll see where you can skip ahead to where we are no longer talking about spoilers. So
he lied earlier. You can romance people in Doom: The Dark Ages.
You can?
Yeah.
Who?
I just assumed that's what you're going to say.
Well, you would assume
that would be the only thing that you would put behind the spoiler wall.
But no. So, spoilers for Doom: The Dark Ages are starting now. Okay, so late game. Prince Azrak has been, really hitting the Sentinels hard. He has captured Commander Thera, who you've at this point discovered is the physical manifestation of the Heart of Argent, which is like the power source / like an ancient deity of the Sentinels and stuff like that. Or of hell too, that like hell is trying to control it. So that's why Azrak is here chasing after the Sentinels and trying to defeat the Sentinels because he wants her power. And then obviously now you are trying to defend the Sentinels from it, or and keep her safe so that Azrak doesn't get her abilities and power and stuff like that. So you wind up eventually finding out through the course of the game that the maker, the con maker, or whatever, that creed maker, I can't remember his name, but the guy who like basically like controls the Doomslayer has made a side deal with Prince Azrak.
Betrayal.
Pretty much. Oh my goodness. Text messages. Apologies. And so he's made this deal to basically, make it seem that that he's helping the Sentinels, but he's still keeping the Doomslayer on his chain. Doomslayer breaks free, wreaks havoc, starts going crazy. But then I'm blank on the or don't want to necessarily say all the details of how this happens, but this really incredible moment happens where basically the Doomslayer gets de-helmeted.
Mother of
And I know, like,
Christ.
you've seen, from like his face and the health bar and everything when he looks around and is like all mad. So you know what the Doomslayer looks like.
Yeah,
but
he's never really smiling.
No. But like, and even in the previous games, you've like seen his eyes through his helmet and stuff like that. But you still are like, oh, what? The Doomslayer's like getting his ass kicked kind of a little bit. Prince Azrak has the upper hand. What's going on? He's taking his helmet off. This is bad. And through course of events, you do wind up kind of seeing the Doomslayer because you have to fight and escape from this captivity. So you play a brief portion of the game with his helmet off and stuff like that. And you even see it in cutscenes and people interact with him and talk with him. I was like, oh, that's so cool. But then it takes it a step further. It's something that I was just like, I can't believe they haven't done this before. And it's so cool because then the Doomslayer still is trying to fight, get to do his thing, and gets I think he was trying to save his dragon at one point. And he like gets basically kicked off into like acid, and very clearly you're like, oh shit, did he just die?
Oh God.
And yes, that is the answer. The Doomslayer does in fact die.
God.
And like I said, and so I was kind of like, oh, okay. But I was also thinking like, no, because it's like this like acid thing that he fell in. But I was also just like, no, that's not right. You can't do that to the Doomslayer. Only for the cutscene to continue with the Doomslayer waking up. You mean like, oh, okay, cool. Like he's got resurrection. That's fine. It's no big deal. It's not. You realize he's waking up in hell. And then he like stands up and he looks at his hands, and you can see like where the acid ate off his gloves and his armor and stuff. And you see like decayed bony fingers.
Like bare bone. Ugh,
and you're like, oh, but he's still using them. And I was like, no, they fucking didn't. And they do. The camera turns around to face him, and it pans up as he's like looking at himself to reveal zombie Doomslayer.
Oh my God.
And I was like, wow, this is so cool. And so then you fight through hell basically to resurrect yourself to come back. And then at the, it's then shown like at the same time the Sentinels are like performing some, ritual and ceremony to try to bring you back as well. So I also thought that was really cool to like, they're doing this ritual concurrently while you're fighting through hell and like converges at the same point.
That's fun.
So
I
it was
like
really
that a lot.
cool, but I was also just like, I don't know, like to get to see the Doomslayer and, see his face in the game more than just like, oh, hey, the brief glance of his helmet of his face as he's putting his helmet on. But then, I don't know why. Just the zombie Doomslayer was just like, oh my God, this is so metal. For a game that's already metal as fuck.
Very cool.
I was like, this is awesome.
I thought you were going in a very different
Oh,
direction
no.
there.
I'm a very simple man. I just need zombie Doomslayer.
No. But what I thought you were going to say when you were like, oh, well, they do a face reveal where he takes his helmet off, and then the game takes it a step further and he falls into acid. I thought you were going to like, oh, he gets back out of the acid, but all of his armor has gotten eaten off.
And he's just naked, hanging down.
I thought it was going to be more like, because they do that in Metal Gear Solid.
Yeah.
I think it's Metal Gear Solid 2 or something where Raiden is just like flipping around the level totally naked the whole time. I thought it was just going to be, like, he doesn't even need the armor.
I mean, he doesn't, to be clear. He definitely doesn't. The sight of his peen alone would scare the demons into fear and cowering.
I thought things were going in a very different direction.
No. Just a zombie. Just a zombie demon slayer. That's all it is. But still, it was like that whole reveal. And then honestly, like the final climax of the game and everything, because there was this really cool moment with King Novik of the Sentinels and the Doomslayer going out to like face the forces of hell and everything like that. And it was just a really just tons of like badass moments, just one after the other.
Question. So when the Doomslayer dies officially and goes to hell and then presumably gets resurrected, does that break the control that the Maker has over him?
He'd already broke it at this point and like ripped out the bolt himself, killed the Maker,
Gotcha.
like that he took his revenge.
Nice.
So it was just honestly the last the last act of this game and everything like that, as you're going through and like going through the final boss fights and all that stuff, I was just like, just kept being, oh, that's awesome. Oh, that's awesome. That's so cool. So this game just really did nail all those big moments of like, oh shit, that Doom is, you want to have in a Doom game and everything like that. Like I said, just kind of wish I'd seen a little bit more in the actual gameplay with like the glory kills and stuff like that. Right. But honestly, a very small complaint in terms of like what you do actually get in this game and everything like that. So that was the only spoilers and stuff. I'm not going to go any farther than that, but that just whole moment in that and stuff after, it's just so cool.
He's going to let you figure out.
I am going to let you figure out all
that you
the
actually
pieces.
can romance Prince Azrak, and then you become a fellow Prince of Hell, and you get to be boyfriendos together.
And you got to oil each other up because it's hot down there and your skin's always cracking. So, you're
and
always...
also all your armor burned off in the acid. Oh, no.
So, just two muscled up
Just
dudes
two bros hanging out
in hell. Oiled up and hanging down. So, anyway.
Oh, boy.
Doom the Dark Ages.
Bethesda,
Fantastic
call
game.
us. We have ideas.
But honestly, like I was playing this and I was like, oh man, South of Midnight, I said was like I thought a 10 of 10 game, and Doom the Dark Ages, I kind of am also was like does it hit to that same level? Like different, because obviously like the story of South of Midnight is much more poignant, much more emotional and everything like that than the story and whatnot of Doom, the Dark Ages. But the gameplay of both is just so good. And Doom, especially with the arsenal of weapons and everything, just really, just has a lot to offer as well. Not saying that just because one's a 10, they both can't be. I think they might be, which is the problem that I'm saying here as far as getting for my game of the year, which I'm still working through Clear Obscure.
And you haven't even finished Clear Obscure yet.
So it's going to be a toughie to see like which one at the end of the year does take my game of the year, because so far, bangers. But Doom of the Dark Ages, another banger indeed.
Another banger.
So if you have played Doom the Dark Ages and have thoughts, well, we would love to hear them as well. So send us an email at teamchatpodcast@gmail.com. Comment wherever you're listening to or watching the show. Join our Discord server and talk about it with us there. We'd love to hear from you. But was there any other news, updates, game things?
I don't think so.
Feels weird to just kind of like, it's just been a few minutes. We had a little bit of a rough start getting the episode going. So just
Jerrett,
making sure we're covering all the bases before we sign off.
Jarrett had to re-record the intro 3 times.
It's been like 3 weeks,
it's been
everybody.
A while. But we're back on track.
We're back on track, and we'll be coming back with more episodes soon in the next coming weeks. So hang out with us in the Discord, and until then,
hang dong with us in the Discord.
Sure. But until next time, everybody, have a good one. We'll see you on the next episode.